Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Professor.
Yep.
Hello.
Okay, we give it 1 or 2 more minutes. See if somebody else shows up. Appreciate you guys joining tonight. And just FYI, I will be recording this session because I got some emails from people who couldn't make it, and after the session I will post it. Some names look familiar. Miriam, you were in a class before, right?
Yes, sir. I was in business 300. No, MSBA 300.
Yeah, I just earlier today started a new MSBA 300 class.
Oh, it's very interesting. I loved it. Do that. It's very good.
Do we have a scheduled class time, or is just this 30 minutes every week?
It's 30 minutes every week. This is actually a cyber class normally. So
Okay.
normally we wouldn't have any class time. But I just, my experience last semester was that it actually is good to connect once in a week, go over open questions. And if we keep it short, you know, everybody has a chance to connect. And then in this class, we will also work in teams. So it's good that you guys know each other when we form the teams. Tonight, what I will do is I will go over the concept of the class and the syllabus and explain what we're going to be doing this semester and answer any questions you might have. That's the plan, and it's my goal that we are out of here in less than half an hour. Okay, so let's get started. My name is Heinz Schwartz. I'm a distinguished adjunct professor, teacher at Golden Gate University for over 10 years. This is my hobby, so to speak. My main job is I'm a senior director for business development in a healthcare IT company. I used to work in the industry. I was the leader for healthcare and life sciences at Sun Microsystems. So I worked in the technology industry. I worked in large multi-billion-dollar companies, and I work in small companies. So that's my main job as a business professional. But for some reason, I discovered that I like to teach. Some people would think that's crazy, but I like it. And so I've been doing this for 10 years. And I've been doing this class, MSBA 305, for over 10 years. That's the first class that I created when I started teaching. It has been taught as part of the MSIT program, Master of Science in IT Management program. Then we moved it into this program, MSBA program, and there's oftentimes people from the IT program or even from the MBA program that cross-list the class. If you have had MSBA 300, these two classes are complement, but they're very different because this class is very hands-on. So MSBA 300 is very theoretical. That's why I introduced these understand intellectually the topic of analytics, but also get some experience. in this class, you will actually do it. You will create dashboards. You will do. You will perform data analysis with data, and at the end of it, the final assignment is that you create a paper in which you do a complete analysis of a data set, create a business case, analyze a data set, etc. And we walk through this assignment throughout the entire semester. So I'll basically guide you. It's a little bit like riding a bicycle with training wheels. The training wheels are the milestones that I set up. So at every step of the way, I can give you feedback and make sure that you're going in the right direction. But at the end, of course, the training wheels come off, and I hope you can ride the bike, meaning you can do an analysis. Now, can you see my screen? Can you see the e-learning website?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'll show you how the week is set up. You should be able to see week 1. Wait a minute, I can highlight that. And the setup. So the Zoom information that we have stays the same throughout the whole semester. It's my personal Zoom information. And I'm going to highlight week 1. So first section here is the course section, is the overview. Welcome, the syllabus, and I'll open that up in a second to go over all the details of the syllabus. That this section here is for the team assignment. So we will form teams, and the teams will work on papers about how BI is used in a different industry. It will depend on how many people ultimately participate in the class. There's usually a little bit fluctuation in the first 2 or 3 weeks. But after this settles, then we form the teams, and you will pick an industry. I can open this, you can take a look. Ideal is if we have like 3 or 4 people per industry. So that's why I'm saying I don't know yet exactly which ones we have. For example, healthcare, retail, finance, and energy. If you have a special interest and it's not reflected here, you can see if you find 2 buddies and do another industry. But I know that these industries, healthcare, retail, finance, are very fruitful. There's a lot of case studies you can find. The whole idea about the team assignment is that you as a team design a paper together, and that you do a cross-section where you analyze how BI is used in the industry. The purpose of this is to give you an understanding that BI, although it's using the exact same tools, dashboards, data warehouses, data integration, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, numerical models, etc., etc. So the same technologies, the same concepts. Credit cards in the finance industry, in the healthcare industry, all the way from fraud detection again, Medicaid fraud or fraud for Medicare benefits, to clinical analytics, where you try to find is there some waste, is there some usage of resources that is unnecessary, and you can find that out if you analyze the data and do a root cause analysis. So very, very different uses in different industries, but it's ultimately the same technology. And you don't know when you end up with this program which industry you will end up with. So I wanted to find a way to give you a flavor of all the different ways how BI can be used in different industries. And that's the idea of this paper. So you can already think about what interests you, which industry would interest you. And as I said, in not next week, the week after, we will form the teams, maybe 3 or 4 teams. And you can basically pick what is your first choice, what is your second choice. We cannot be all in one team, and we cannot have just a single person doing finance or whatever. So that's why everybody should be in a team. So that's this first section of the assignments. The Zoom info is here again, and then week 1, and this is how every week is built. You see the weekly overview, you see the lecture presentation for week 1. Then there is a discussion. In week 1, the discussion is your student introduction. And don't worry, you will get full points if you post something. There's no wrong or right in the introduction. Normally when we have discussions, and some of you who had classes with me before know that concept already, the discussion has 2 parts. One is your initial post. I will post a question, and you respond to the question with a thoughtful and well-substantiated answer. And then you come back a day or 2 later, and then you read other posts from other students, and you comment on those. So that's the 2 parts of the discussion. This is called a discussion. I want to have some dialogue going on. And it worked really, really well in some classes. So I hope it's going to work well in this class as well. And you get points for both. You get points for your initial post, and you get points for your responses. And so you have multiple ways how to get maximum points. Maximum points for each discussion is 20 points. Okay? So if you get 15 points or 18 points for your original post, you can make up the missing points by responding to your other students' comments, your fellow students. And there's a quiz every week, which basically goes over the content of the book reading that you have for the week. And then there's, most weeks, there's a hands-on assignment. The hands-on assignment is a practical assignment. The first assignment is you create an ER diagram. Now, you might say, well, Professor, what does an ER diagram have to do with data analytics? An ER diagram is to build a relational database, and a relational database is not used in analytics. A relational database is used as a source system, as an operational system, OLTP, online transaction processing. And that is 100% correct if you would think that. But we start with an ER diagram, so you basically create an entity relationship diagram and a relational model. And then next week, we will cover how you turn a relational model into a dimensional model, and dimensional models is what we build and think about in analytics. Okay? So step 1, ER diagram. So that's the outline for this week, and this is similar to how every week looks like. Any questions on that while I pull up the syllabus?
About the team project, Professor, will you assign team members or teams, or do we have to choose team members? Or is it going to be like, if some people are interested in finance, all of them will go for finance? Just
the latter. So that's why I just said, you can already think what you would be interested in, and then you tell me, I'm interested in finance, or I'm interested in healthcare. And now, if everybody wants to do healthcare, just as an example, then I have to come up with an idea, but that hasn't happened. In the 10 years that I teach this class, this hasn't happened yet. So that I had to force people to go into something. So first come, first serve, send me an email, which of the industries you want to do. And as I said, then we form the groups, and hopefully everybody gets into a topic that they're interested in. Make sense?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
By the way, those of you who don't have their camera on, when I do a Zoom session, I would like you to turn the camera on and the microphone off, unless you want to say something.
Okay. I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I placed it in chat, but I was going to ask, is there a limit or a minimum requirement for the responses that we have to do for the discussions?
There is no set requirement, but the response, in order to get the maximum points, your response should be well substantiated as an argument. I actually posted, let me pull this up here, because I get this question all the time. I took this picture when I went, this is multiple years ago. My daughter is now in high school, but when she was in 6th grade, I went to one evening to her class, and I saw these pictures, I saw these postered on the wall. So this was from Mrs. Sims' 6th grade English class. And it's how you build an argument. One, you make a claim, which is a statement that tells what the author is thinking. Then you do reasoning, evidence, and the bridge, okay? This is not a 6th grade English class. This is a class for Masters of Science. So I think it's not asking too much that you use at least 6th grade English quality in forming your arguments. And like the 6th graders, you have to cite evidence according to the text, according to the author, illustration, blah, blah, blah. And then you cite the text. Now, believe me, I teach for 10 years. I've had hundreds of students. You will not believe how many students that are in a master's program don't follow these guidelines. I don't know why, because it's taught apparently in 6th grade English, but people don't follow these guidelines. In this class, we'll follow these guidelines. So if you want to get full points, you can always go back to this site and look at Mrs. Sims' guidelines for 6th graders. And if you follow these guidelines, you can do that in, a short paragraph sometimes, or 2 or 3 paragraphs. You don't have to write an essay, and you don't have to add pictures. Some people do that. They add pictures and write a longer text. Some people like to keep it short and sweet. But as long as you form a good argument and cite your evidence, you get your full point. And that applies for both parts, for your original post and for the response. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of your guidance.
Well, experience. And I always get the question. And by the way, that answer is my universal answer. When you ask me, how long does this assignment have to be when you write a milestone or whatever, I don't have a fixed page count. So you don't have to produce 20 pages if it doesn't make sense. But there is a saying which is attributed to a lot of smart people, Mark Twain, Wolfgang Goethe, in different cultures, the same quote is attributed to a lot of people, and that quote goes like, "I'm sorry, my letter is so long, I didn't have time to write a shorter one." That sounds counterintuitive, right? I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long letter. But the idea behind this is sometimes when you ramble on, you develop your idea and you ramble on and you ramble on, and you need a second and a third pass to condense it to the port, what you say. So I don't mind if you condense it to the core that you really want to say, and it's short and sweet, but it has to be said what has to be said. Okay? All right, so now let's go over the syllabus. Textbook is Business Intelligence Guidebook from Rick Sherman. I'm using that original version. I just looked it up because somebody said, "Oh, the bookstore is closed. How do I get the textbook?" Well, Amazon has it currently on sale for $33, which is pretty cheap for a textbook. Some textbooks you have to pay that much in rent. So don't wait for the.
We can also get the free PDF on Google actually for the book.
Free PDF?
Yes, it was available on one of the sites. So.
Is that legal or is that?
Yeah, it is pretty much legal.
Okay. Well, whatever works, but if it's free, all the better. But yeah, the book is around for a long time. Not a long time. Basically, when I redid this class 3 years ago, the book was brand new, and I like it. And there's not a lot of technology in the book, which is why we can still use it. And so the class is built around this book because the guy who wrote the book, Rick Sherman, is also an adjunct professor, and in his main job, he does data analytics day to day. He builds data warehouses, so he's a practitioner, and I like that. He's not an academic that has never seen the real world, but a practitioner, and so the book has some really useful parts, I think. Okay, so there's weekly assignments, and they're 20% of the grade, and weekly assignments is the quiz and the discussion. I went over the discussion already, and I went over the quiz. The quiz has a double meaning. It also prepares you for the 2 exams. There are 2 exams. One is the midterm exam, one is the final exam. And I use the exact same question that are in the weekly quizzes in the exam. So if you do the exam, you will do, if you do the weekly quizzes, you're preparing yourself for the exam. Does that make sense? And now comes the cream on top. Until we take the midterm exam, you have 2 attempts for the quiz. Did you hear that right? You have 2 attempts for the quiz. So if you don't get 100% in the quiz, then that's your fault, not my fault. You get me?
Yes.
Then after in the midterm, you have only 1 attempt. And after the midterm, the quizzes, you also only have 1 attempt. Okay? And the final exam also has questions from the quizzes, but it also has some questions that require a thoughtful response. So they have essay questions, not only multiple choice. And then on the quizzes, one other comment, it uses an auto grader. Sometimes the auto grader is very, very strict. So if you use the wrong capitalization or whatever, it might mark something as wrong. If that is the case, send me an email. I don't, because it's auto-graded, I don't see the quizzes. So unless you point me to it, okay? So if you see that you've been unfairly graded, sometimes there are questions where you have to list 4 things. And if you don't have the exact sequence that the auto-grader is expecting, it says you have it wrong. Obviously, you send me an email, I look at it, I correct it, okay? Make sense? Okay, then we have the hands-on assignment. So that's something that you have to do every week. Remember, this is a graduate class. They say that you should expect to spend 15 with 3 credits, 3 graduate credits. And I can expect that you spend 15 to 20 hours a week on this class. And you will need that time in this class. I'll be upfront about it because I don't want to have anybody whine about it during the class or after the class. This is a class and that's why I had, the class was oversubscribed and some people asked me if they can sign up for the class. And I said, if you have 3 other classes, don't sign up for this class. Wait until you have more time to do it, okay? So something's got to give. On one hand side, after the class is over, like the last class was a fantastic class. We had a great time, and I ended up, I've never had such a good grade point average in a class. We had, I think, 14 people in the class, and I had 12 A's and 2 B's. This has never happened before. I've had classes where I had like 1 A and 3 B's and majority C's, but I've never had such a great class. And in the review, some students said, we would like even more hands-on assignments. I know that you won't believe me that I say that, but I can show you the feedback from students because they like the hands-on assignment because after that you really feel you actually learn how to do data analysis. And that's what this class is about. You will actually work with data and you will learn how to do it, okay? So be prepared, you will need some time on the hands-on assignment. The individual term paper is 30% of the grade, and the individual term paper is something we work on, as I said, through the entire semester. We will have milestones, and I'll show you the table in a minute, and we talk about that. And then the team paper I already talked about, and I also talked about the midterm and the final exam already, okay? So now let's look at the schedule. Week 1, you see here we have 4 columns: session, topic, reading assignments, and other assignments. I don't think it can be more clear, so don't tell me you didn't know what to do in that week or you couldn't find it or something like that. So week 1, topic, class overview, BI and data warehouse introduction, ER modeling recap, okay? Chapters to read 1, 4, and 8, and there's 1 discussion forum, and the hands-on assignment is the ER diagram. So this is actually wrong. This should be here. Sorry, I have to change that. And then the reason why I moved it up 1 week was so that you only have 1 hands-on assignment due in each week. That was 1 feedback I got from students. They said in some weeks it's just too much work, so I try to spread it out a little bit more. So that's why the hands-on assignment is due this week. It's right in the class, and I will publish an updated syllabus where this is updated. And then next week is hands-on assignment 2, where you turn the ER model into a dimensional model, because that's also the topic of week 2 is dimensional modeling. Week 3 is also dimensional modeling. Then data integration, we have 2 sessions on data integration. And homework assignments, see here, that's That's the problem. Homework assignment 3 and 4 in 1 week. So since we start this week with hands-on assignment 1, you don't have 2 assignments. So I'll redo this and republish this, but it's set up correctly in the class. And then you see that there are some milestones. Let me find milestone 1. Here, for example, milestone 2, literature review. Where did milestone 1 go? So what the milestones are is, milestone 1 is you submit the topic and the data set that you want to work on the term paper. This is, you can pick a data set that you want to work on. There's plenty of free data sets available on Kaggle or other sources. There's MicroStrategy has some data sets. Tableau has some data sets. There's a couple of data science sites that have data sets. And then Kaggle has hundreds of data sets. So think about what interests you and find a data set. And then in milestone 1 that you submit, I think in week 3, I don't know where it went. You will basically describe what you want to do with the data set. The description of the paper that you write is here. Individual term paper. And it says here 20 to 30 pages, should include descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analysis of the data set. So you need a data set that is non-trivial, has hundreds or thousands of observations, and throughout the semester you will learn how to use different tools, so you can utilize these tools to manipulate the data set and get the reports, create the descriptive analytics, etc. So the sooner you think about it, the better. And I can give you feedback. Sometimes people pick a data set from Kaggle, for example, that is, what is a very popular data set? Airbnb listings, very popular, terrible data set. And that's the feedback that I give. Why is it a very terrible data set? Because it shows a snapshot of 3 months, for example, Airbnb bookings in New York City. There's not much you can do with 3 months of data, because think about it, you don't even have a seasonality in there. You know, Airbnb bookings, like any hotel bookings, and I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about a normal year. You have different seasons. You know, if it's New York City, some people go there for Christmas, some people go there in the summer, some people go there when the Yankees are playing, etc., etc. So there's different events and different seasons. If you have 3 months, you don't have really any seasonality. So there's not much really that you can do with the data. Try to find a data set. Like I'm using for some of the exercises here, a data set that is called Superstore, shows sales transactions over a period of 4 years, has thousands, 10,000s of sales transactions. And there's tons of things that you can do with that because it's multiple years, multiple product groups, multiple countries. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that. A data set that is 3 months is a snapshot. There's not a lot meaningful that you can do with that. So be smart about the data set that you pick and be smart about the problem. When I say be smart about it, we are at a business school. This is the Agino School of Business at Golden Gate University, and this course is called Master of Science in Business Analytics. And then you might say, well, why are you telling me this? I know this. Well, sometimes students pick topics like suicide prevention analytics. That's not a business topic. Guys, this is a very complex topic. Suicide is super complex. It's really not our expertise. This is social science. There's multiple factors that impact suicide. That's way too complex for our class. You feel me? We want something that is a business problem. So don't try to boil the ocean and solve things like suicide or whatever. Let's find a business problem. There's plenty of things we can do with a business problem, like sales transaction data over years, different countries. You can do something. There's one data set that is very popular on Kaggle about attrition rate, and it's a synthetic data set from IBM about basically trying to analyze and predict people that leave the company. So you can do a lot with a data set like this that has hundreds of observations over a period of time. Okay, does that make sense? But again, that's exactly why we have the milestones. The milestones have points attached to it, but the points are not really that consequential. So if I give you 30 points out of 50 points, don't get upset about this. It's just, I'm giving you 30 points because I want your attention, okay? Because sometimes I feel I keep talking and nobody's listening. And my way of getting attention is giving you, 30 out of 50 or 25 out of 50. Then I usually get your attention. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So when I think I need your attention is when I think you're going off the rails. For example, if you pick something like suicide prevention rate, again, then my comment will be, we're a business school. This is not a business topic. You cannot make a business case out of this, right? So it can't be that hard to find a business problem, and it can't be that hard to find a data set with business transactions. Believe me, there's plenty out there. Walmart has a data set out there. There's plenty of data sets out there. The reason why I have not everybody work on the exact same data set is I want you to pick something that you are interested in. Michael might be interested in finance and Miriam might be interested in healthcare, so I don't want to give you the same data set, okay? It's a graduate class. You should have fun doing this. You should have fun and you should learn something. So that's my goal. And at the end of it, I want you to be proud of this paper, and I want this to be something that you show in your portfolio to potential employers and say, hey, look, I didn't just read books. I didn't just do exams. I actually learned how to do analytics. That's what I want. And I want you to have that confidence and leave this class knowing that you can do data analytics. That's my goal. And I would be happy if we end up like the previous class with almost all A's, or maybe even with all A's. I don't care. I would be happy. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the syllabus, quick overview of the class. I noticed that I have to change the schedule here. But are there any other questions?
For that first hands-on assignment, would you like us to use the Teradata University Network?
You can. So first of all, that's a really great point, Michael. Sign up for Teradata University Network. It's free. Password, I believe, is analytics. They haven't changed it in years for students.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. So you can sign up for free for a student account. And then through Teradata Analytics, you can download some software. And for the first assignment, my recommendation is to use ERD Plus. ERD Plus, free software. You will see why I'm recommending it. Hopefully you will see it. We can discuss it next week. But if you follow my recommendation, you will get a bonus. I'm not telling you more, but we will talk about it next week. So follow my recommendation, use ERD Plus, and you will see what the bonus is next week. And you do assignment has two parts. One is entity relationship model. Second one is relational model. And then that relational model we turned into a dimensional model the week after. Okay. Any other questions? Sorry, guys, I went a little bit over tonight.
I just wanted to make sure that I was on the wait list in the class at some point. Have I been removed off the wait list, or do I still need to wait and see?
Let me see. Michael O'Donnell. I didn't even take attendance tonight, but yeah, wait. No, that's not you. O'Connell and
Seaver.
Oh, we have a Michael O'Donnell. There you are. Wow, we have a lot of Irish people in the class. O'Donnell, O'Callaghan, and O'Connell.
Let's go.
You can see from my skin color, I'm not Irish.
I do see my name, Seaver. My name is Seaver. I'm like fifth from the bottom, I think.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm in, or does that mean it's still like pending?
No, you're in. From my perspective, you're in.
Sweet. Thank you very much.
Yeah. This is a really full class. I think we have like 25 people. Normally, the class is limited to 20. We have 25 people. So it's a full class. But I'm glad you're all here, and I hope we'll have as much fun as we had with a class that I just finished in the spring. We had a lot of fun, and it was great. That's the reason why I'm teaching, because I love it. When I can see that you're responding and that you pick up something, that you want to learn something. Okay, so yeah, I think they approved. I approved all the requests with that note that I said before. If you pick this class, don't be surprised that you really have to work 15 hours a week on this class. Okay, and the last thing I say about this is, if you keep up every week, it's actually not that bad. What's really bad is if you go off the rails, if you don't follow my guideline, if you fall behind, and then you have to make up one or two things and so on and so forth. So then it gets really tough. So don't fall behind, try to stay up on it. And well, normally this happens. Right now it doesn't happen properly. If you have business travel or something, plan ahead and make sure that you contact me. I can open a week early assignment, so you can work on an assignment ahead of time, or you just plan. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Planning is half the win. If you have any questions, you know how to email me. And other than that, I'll check back with you next week, same time, same place.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you,
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
See you next
Bye.
Monday.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.